Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I am a director at the Data Institute, and we are sponsoring this talk along with the students which we do every week. Today I'm really excited because we have some recruiters here to talk to you about the job search process. And so instead of me introducing them, I'm going to let them quickly introduce themselves to you all and tell you a little bit about what they do. And one of the things that I want to just make you aware of is that we have here both sort of internal recruiting, which means part of a company, right? So Josh is from Amazon. And then we have Christine and Meaghan, who are from Robert Half. And Robert Half is a third-party agency. So I just want to make that distinction for you now. They're going to tell you a little bit more about what that means, but I wanted to put that out there for you as a head start. So, Josh.
Hello. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the introduction.
45 degrees.
Right here? Good? All right. Got it. That's my technological expertise there. Anyway, my name is Josh. I'm with the Amazon Science exec recruiting team, specifically within ad science, or called AIGC, advertising, IMDb, Internet Movie Database, and Grand Challenge, which is our startup division. Primarily focused on the ad science portion. Prior to coming to Amazon, I was at a little company called LinkedIn. And prior to that, these are those things called newspapers, if you remember what those are. You have to find a job in the classifieds. I have a passion for recruiting, connecting people with opportunity. I see that some of you have already reached out to me via LinkedIn, which is great to see. And I love working with data scientists and engineers, just because I like what you create and build, and then just connecting people is like the passion you have for the technologies out there. It's a lot of fun. So we'll talk more about Amazon later. That's the mic to you.
Oh, I have one. I don't need your mic.
No.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I bet you I don't really need this mic if you know me. So my name is Christine Sharp. I'm actually in between adding that last part on. I've been married for 7 years, but I still haven't added him to my name. So I'm a senior client solutions manager here at Robert Half. Or VP, doesn't matter. Titles don't mean anything. What I do is I help some of the best companies in the world compete for the best people. Sometimes it's going to be a permanent hire. Sometimes it's going to be a contract to hire. Sometimes it's going to be a managed service solution. Sometimes it's going to be a mix of all of those things. Either way, as a third-party vendor to our clients, something like Amazon, which is a strategic account, we have to come up with really different ways to not only put in place a master service agreement terms that they're good with, but we're good with as well, to deploy people really, really quickly. So in my world, I have not only a team of folks who, like me, go and look for the busiest, most hot hiring environments and clients. We also have a whole team of recruiters, different pipelines of recruiters. Like I actually work day in, day out with at least 12 recruiters each day. And they're all divided by different parts of the technology that we cover. We have a specific matrix of recruiting that is specific to technology, infrastructure, application engineering, data science, emerging technologies, and networking, security, cybersecurity, all the like. We also have another team that specifically handles design work, any kind of UI, UX development, or design. If it gets more technical, then they would still then kick it back to my team to find those people who have those skills to provide back to our top clients for their projects. So that's how our world works in the gist of it. But I actually came through to Robert Half as a referral. So I didn't even know Robert Half existed before I showed up.
And I decided this is where I wanted to be, this is what I wanted to do. Before here, I was working at Yelp, I worked at ADP, I worked a very long time at law firms, so I was in defense first, and then I worked in plaintiff law firms for about 5 years, and I moved out of that into a funding startup. And after a while, I realized that Robert Half is bringing something like Robert Half at this age. I wouldn't believe anyone else, but personally, but getting with an agency is just an interesting flow of connecting people with great opportunities and really changing lives. So I really love what I do. I wish for a boring day. I truly do. And I'm really taking some of this, but thank you for having me.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Meaghan O'Brien. I work with Christine. My specialty is actually in the healthcare, biotech, and health tech space. And I focus solely on contracts, but we do have our contract to hire positions. I'm with Robert Half. So as she had mentioned, we do work with hundreds and hundreds of companies, and we build pipelines of candidates as well as build pipelines to get you jobs. So I think if you all are looking for jobs right now, it is a really great networking opportunity. I know that we're gonna dive into that a little bit more to start talking to recruiters if you haven't done so already, because they can give you insight into, you know, what types of jobs will be better for you, critique your resume, things of that nature. So we can dive in a little bit more, but my specialty is specifically in those more like healthcare specific spaces. So if that's the type of industry that you're interested in and moving into, that's something that I can talk to you further about.
Awesome, thank you so much. Now, I know that you all submitted some questions and they're really good ones, so I'm going to try and address them in our conversation, but we had sort of reviewed some questions beforehand as well. But I want to start at the very beginning of the process, right? So what are the best places in your mind to look for jobs? And what role does networking play in the hiring process? So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, I'll just hop back on since I was just kind of mentioning that right now. So I think networking is like critical for your success in finding a job, specifically in this market here in the Bay Area. It's who you know, and there's no better way of doing that than with a recruiter. Internal recruiters are just as important as external recruiters, because internal recruiters, and I know that Josh can speak to this a little bit more, if they don't have an opportunity for you, they're also building pipelines. Versus on the agency side, we are trying to fit you into our puzzle piece of like, okay, we have 17 clients right now, and 5 of them need this type of person. Is it a good culture fit? Is it a good, match? Do you guys have the skill set? But networking is really important. Going to networking events, even for recruiters, like we love to go to networking events, we love to learn from you, but we're also learning from our clients. So the more that you know about the industry that you're trying to go into, the specific type of job function you're going into, specifically speaking, when you are working with an agency. Robert Half, for example, we've been around for 70 plus years. We are the first staffing agency in existence, so we've kind of built the foundation of recruiting with multiple companies at once. And we have access to almost every job board. So chances are, if you apply to a job on Indeed, we probably have seen your resume or have access to it. So if you're applying to jobs, we can see that you're applying to jobs, and we're like, oh, that person's applying to the same type of position. I wonder if they'd be interested in, connecting with us, so that way we can, then help you further. And working within a staffing agency specifically for Robert Half, I can't speak for all of the other ones because I've only worked for this one and prefer this one. It's not at no cost to you. So, even if you just have one interview with a recruiter, it doesn't mean that you have to work with us. You can just get tips, you can ask questions, because we're doing the same thing on our side. Like, is it gonna be a good fit? Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not, and that's okay. But nonetheless, I think it's a really good opportunity for you just to learn and understand. It's also a great time if you are newer in your tenure of working, to try before you buy. So like, I'm on the contract side of things. Like, I I actually started working at Robert Half. I came from the nonprofit space before this, but I started working at Robert Half because my best friend got her first job through Robert Half. And she's like, you should go to Robert Half. And I was like, I don't want to work with a staffing agency. I don't want to do it. And she's like, do it. And I was like, well, I'm not really getting anywhere. And I did it, and then I accidentally applied to work at Robert Half, and here I am. So it's kind of just how it works. But again, the moral of the story is networking is super important. I really, really, really encourage you all just to talk to recruiters as well. It doesn't mean you have to do anything, but it's a really good learning opportunity nonetheless.
I'm just gonna ask a quick question and then I want you to chime in, but how many of you have either worked with a third-party agency in the past? Anybody? Yeah? Okay. They're here today obviously because this is something we want to prepare you for a lifelong journey here, right? So at some point in your career, if you have not done so already, this may be something that you think about moving forward. So I'm really glad that you all are here, and thank you for that response. Now, Josh, what were you gonna say about me?
Yeah, I was gonna. Thanks, Elizabeth. I was gonna add that to Meaghan's synopsis on networking, right? Whether it's with agency or internal, it's the same thing that goes with internal because there's 1.4 million people that work at Amazon. Not all of those are corporate or scientists, obviously, but they're, I'm one of not a lot of recruiters nowadays, but a portion of recruiters and within Amazon, and so I'm happy to. There's a lot of roles that I work on, but I network internally myself and collaborate with others to get you to the right people, right? So I am a point of contact for Amazon nationwide, not worldwide, but nationwide, North America. And I think networking, historically kind of has like a negative connotation with it because it's kind of like maybe like fake or not real. I think it's how you get a lot of opportunities. It's not really through job applications. Job applications are great, you should do it, it should be part of your process. But it's kind of like playing the lottery for your dream job, right? It can happen, but you're data scientist, the probability that's probably not very high, right? So it's a two-pronged approach. And when you're applying for jobs too, I know we're probably getting into that, jump ahead. Okay. Definitely don't do what I call the shotgun blast, which is where you go like 50 jobs, right? If you want to be targeted, probably no more than 5, and then kind of just be persistent on it, but you don't want to be like every day, right? There's only so many updates. Jobs will come and go. All jobs that we have to post, right, for a certain period of time. But it's a way to get in touch with the recruiter, get through a phone screen. We'll talk about the process we go through. But yeah, it's definitely a multi-pronged approach. And networking, I meet a lot of scientists and engineers at meetups. They're great, and I host them myself actually in the Bay Area. Whether it's happy hour, coffee, tea. Anyway, it's like on a topic, whether it's Gen AI is obviously a very hot one, but that's how you kind of meet people, put a face to the name, right? We fireside chats with leaders from Amazon. Those are more in advance and more formal, but those are all different ways. So networking is definitely key to finding that opportunity, whether at Amazon, through Robert Half, whomever. So.
Okay, and I want to clarify something that you just said. You said probably not applying to probably any more than 5 jobs. But that you're really meaning within a specific company, right? So within one organization, right? Because you are going to apply to a lot of different companies, a lot of jobs, right? We understand that, but you want to make sure that when you're applying within one single organization, that you're not blasting your resume all over that company because you notice.
Yeah, there's always somebody on the other side of that job posting, right? So it works on our end as well. As soon as I have an urgent client who says, Christine, I need somebody in the city by tomorrow, I open up a job, either confidential or public job order in our system that automatically blasts out to all of our postings as well as to our partners for them to send us their best people. Internally, we have that linked to a person. Same thing over there at Amazon. If they see one person, every application that you apply into that organization is attached to you. They're smart enough to know that it's not just like 5 different, bills that is applying, right? So they will notice if you had 5, like somebody coming to you with that urgency, would you want to work with them, right? I understand the urgency, but you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to, personally, I don't like a desperate client or candidate. When they're desperate, people do desperate things, right? And that's something that I learned just by living here in San Francisco. But truly, I think it works really well in dating and in hiring, you know? So I wouldn't truly want to go with the most desperate person. So frankly, it's about being really impactful with your application. And if you could leverage a relationship that you have internally or externally, like, oh, Christine, I see that you work with X, Y, and Z company, or you're connected with so-and-so company, and they're in your network. Do you know anybody over there that you could put my resume to and in front of? And I could say, like, actually, I might know that person, or I don't at all. Or maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe you're better off applying yourself, but then let me go on the back end and do a little hunting for you, right? And then we can work together as a true partnership. But you're gonna wanna be able to leverage those relationships. No matter how you shake it down, this is a relationship business, right?
Yeah, thank you. Now, really quickly, so other than, and there's gonna be time for you all to ask questions at the end, so thank you. But really, really quickly, not the company website, not the Robert Half website, the online sources of applying for jobs. Very quickly, what are the best ones? Okay, not Robert Half.
Yeah, I still go on
not
Indeed.
company
I still hang out on Indeed.
Indeed.
I still even hang out on Craigslist. Like, you never know. You know, don't be like, you just never know. But honestly, it's like, it's where you get your old toaster. But Indeed,
What about LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, 100%.
LinkedIn Smart
Discord.
Slides? You guys
I mean,
use
there's been.
At this point,
yeah.
it's at the same time. If you're not on both, then it's not a real job order.
what is it, Discord?
Yeah, a lot of different sites. Yeah, I mean, even
Discord.
sharing on X. I mean, or Twitter. Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of. I actually found something off Discord. So there's a lot of different. It's not like an official like job information that you share, maybe not an application, and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of different avenues you could pursue. Indeed it's a huge aggregator, right? It's owned by Recruit.com. That's probably, it's got the farthest reach worldwide. LinkedIn's gotten much better since I was there, as far as the postings and the relevancy. And then speaking of postings, one question comes up real quick about like when you should apply to a job when it first gets posted. Everyone has the thought that, well, your first person there is the best. I mean, no, it's not true.
always.
Not always. In some cases, it can be. I would say don't. You could be the last person. You could be in the middle. It's with the technology we have internally to kind of filter through everything, right? It doesn't really. I mean, I wouldn't just bet on that by any means, right? It's so don't worry about the timing of when the job is posted. I only have reservations myself if I was a candidate, scientist, recruiter. The job's been posted forever. You're kind of like, well, why is it been filled?
Why?
Right? So that's the only question mark I have.
Or if there was a job posting that has closed and you really wanted it, and you're like, crap, I missed it. Why not find if you can find the information, what the title was and all that, if you have that information, why not bring that back and reach out to them and be like, when do you think this role is open again? Right?
Location too.
Location, or where is this role gonna be open?
But do so in a very professional way, and Victor and I and your faculty are here to help you as you navigate these emails that you might send to recruiters, right? Because you want to make sure that they are really, really, really nicely written, okay? Yeah, high quality. So make sure, and like I said, we're all here to support you in that. Okay, now I want to transition because I do want to open it up to the students, and I want to talk about, a lot of you submitted questions about the applicant tracking system. Okay, so let's see, where do we go? There were so many questions, and some of them, okay, one, very quickly, do you have an applicant tracking system?
Yeah, we built it.
Okay, everybody has them now.
We won awards about ours. We won an award for our AI that we use because we have such a complicated database. And I'll tell you what, I bet you we have your moms and dads on our database. That's what I mean. Yeah. And so we had to figure out a way to best help our clients match what internal information that we know that's proprietary to us and make that relevant to the situation today, right? So, yeah, we're
Okay,
all about it.
so say, oh, go ahead.
And just to add to that, I mean, we've been around for 30 years now, so there's a lot of data. I would say the applicant tracking system that we have is been modified and updated, and it's pretty robust, so, yeah.
Okay, so our students asked, they said, what are your thoughts on the ATS hacks that people encourage? Keyword bombing, resume templates, what works and what doesn't in the applicant tracking system. Like, how are you sorting your candidates, right? So another one, let's say you get 1,000 applications for one job. How is the system helping you with those 1,000 applications, and then what are you doing?
Can I answer? So I just did a training on this, so I think I know a little bit about it, and I just finished it before I got here. So our our back-end AI, we call it ART, which is AI recommended talent.
There you
Here it
go.
is.
There you
AI
go.
recommended talent. So yeah, based on quality, the actual keywords of their skill set in their resume, their location, because we do by 60-mile radius, and then also by how active you are engaging with our whole entire system. And we have the back end AI to weed out and wash out duplicates. But if you even engage through like right. Same thing. If you set up you go to roberthalf.com or you go to the App Store and download the Robert Half app, you can start a profile there. That's your profile. That's your tracking system that we built, that you can track your profile, upload your resume, maybe tweak it a bit, or I don't know if it allows you to tweak. I know it lets you upload. You also are able to make a list of all the jobs that you want to be applying to. You can apply to them internally in the app. You can also, and that allows our recruiter to know, okay, this person has applied to it. And then on our end, it helps us with the AI recommended talent to tell us, hey, this person would be really good for this particular role that's really active right now. So it's there. I wouldn't be afraid. I actually want to ask you guys, are you guys scared of that? Or what is the pushback?
Not scared, they just wanna know how, I think you guys wanna know
How to hack it?
yeah, how to game the system.
All right. Well, just
Yeah.
know somebody. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But Christine, go look at my email. How would you?
Yeah, to
how
add
would
to
you-
Christine, I mean, employee referrals for like Amazon, yeah, you can do the whiteout of the skills at the bottom of the resume, which supposedly it doesn't have much of an effect with our systems. I would say employee referral if possible, but 1.4 million people, I'm sure you could probably find someone, right, through networking and whatnot. And yeah, I would say putting too many keywords, like right now the trend is everything's Gen AI, right? And so you don't want to make like a crossword puzzle and put like Gen AI like 50 times in your resume, right? Because that's obviously it's
Lying.
and yeah, it's not
Lying too.
exactly,
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say keep the keywords to, I mean, you want to get visibility and traction, but also that comes to the networking aspect, not just the job application. Because you have too many in it, it's going to trigger the things for the wrong reasons, right? So.
Yeah, and I'll jump in really quickly too. I know that there is like little hacks of like putting it in white font or white color at the bottom of your resume and things like that. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. It's just gonna come up looking funny. Some ETSs, prefer Word versus PDF. Because sometimes PDF is just characters, so then your resume gets submitted and it looks like it's like ABCDEFG. Exactly. So, just making sure you know how to format, I think is really, really important. Because like on our end, on our ATS, it actually, if I click over your name, it'll show your resume, whether it's a current resume or a past resume. And if it looks really funky and weird, I'm trying to fill a job in like 2 minutes. So like I don't have time to like be like, oh, they might be a really excellent candidate, but their resume doesn't look like they're an excellent candidate. So then like I gotta move on to the next because there will be somebody that matches that. So I work with my clients, but I also do a lot of heavy recruiting myself. And so when I'm going through the ATS, that's something that I automatically see. I do use keywords to find you. So, it is important to use those, but just exactly what everyone else does, like not just overwhelming it, because then we can tell we're like, okay, well, do they really know this, or are they just doing this to get the job? So that's just something to consider as well.
Okay, so back to getting like thousands of applications for a single job, okay, kind of what you were saying, Meaghan, but the students wanted to know, you probably take a really short amount of time evaluating a resume, right? Or not, I don't know, Josh looks like he's thinking over here. But, so what should they focus on? So keywords help the applicant tracking system, fine, but then when you recruiter are looking at their document, what are you looking for? Is like titles, how are format?
So
Yeah.
you do these two things, you'll be decent. You'll be better than you were before. Number one, at the very top of your resume, separate your professional skills, list those out, and then list your technical skills. Those two things separated out and listed at the very top with like a quick summary of who you are, that allows me to figure out how to fit you into my ecosystem. Okay? Then you go into your work experience or history, whatever, be succinct. And here's number two, each and every work experience, you need to, at the very end, the very last bullet point needs to be an ROI statement. Does anybody know what an ROI statement is? Hands up. Anybody? All right, so an ROI statement is a return on investment. What did you do at that particular work engagement that you helped that organization save time, save money, open up a new opportunity, create a new process that they're using today, maybe get rid of some clunky hardware that they didn't need anymore, or a particular tool that they didn't need anymore? Did you help them avoid a lawsuit? Did you help to uncover another channel of business for them? Are you now tied to revenue that you can actually tell them, this in 1 quarter, these are my milestones or my accomplishments? That in each and every one of those work experiences, if it has an ROI statement at the very end, you should be golden. You will find a way to bring that to the resume, to the interview, and know exactly how to speak to your own resume.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I would say scale and impact in addition to ROI. You're like, what? So just think to yourself when you read your resume. So what? Like, what impact did it have? It doesn't have to have the impact of an Amazon or Robert Half or Chevron or whatever, but the impact is all relative to the scale of whatever you're working on, right? So tell us a story, but have like actual numbers, not just like I work on data science or I built an algorithm. Well, what did the algorithm do? Tell me more about, build the narrative, right? That's what we look for in resumes. When we see a lot of general job description, vanilla characteristics, they're just out the window, right? I mean, what does that tell me? It just tells me, you didn't put a lot of thought in your resume too, or whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of, I would also add to that, like the mechanisms and processes that you built into it to stream to whatever, the impact and scale tie all together, right? And yeah, and I would also, to add to the resume aspect, your LinkedIn profile it should align like time date wise, like as far as your years of employment or whatever, that should align. But as far as you have your professional brand and your resume, they're aligned, but they're somewhat separate too. So just kind of keep that in mind. They don't have to be identical, right? Yeah.
And you're saying that because your resume should be tailored to each job that you're applying to, correct? As opposed to like your LinkedIn being a little bit more generic, or not generic, but less specific?
Well, your LinkedIn should show a progression of title if you possibly
Yep.
have it, right? And just your industry, just professional things about you, like what is this person, who is this person as a professional, right?
Yeah.
However, your resume does need to be accurate in a way that it needs to be it needs to be auditable. Like we need to be able to audit this and then call your previous manager and say, did this person hold this title?
Yeah.
And the dates.
And I would, like, with LinkedIn, I would also say, when I reach out to people that I don't know, it's like a cold email or whatnot, email, I look for, the work experience is good, but just like, I look at the languages they speak, I look at the associations they're with, the groups. You should join groups on LinkedIn that are valuable, obviously, data scientists of Bay Area, whatever it might be. The Veteran Mentor Network, right, which is for veterans, a lot of them data science too. There's a lot of things you can do to expose your network and connect with us or whatnot, and just kind of get that, get the ball rolling that way. So.
This came from the students. How much technical detail should they include in the work experience section? Is it better to mention the tools used within the job descriptions or to list them separately in the skills section? Or both?
Both. Because as an engineer, I'll see resumes where, I'll see that this person really started front end. Then they just kind of did a little bit more back end. Now they're just kind of getting their feet wet. Now they're doing more this, and now they're into data. This is all interesting. You see the progression of that. But then you want to list the technologies that were relevant to that role because I need to know where you use that technology. You might have used Jira in one instance, but you might have ServiceNow somewhere else, right? So it's not, it's pertinent to have the skills section, as I mentioned, your technical skills. Please list the languages you write in, what do you code in? What scripting languages do you even know? Any cloud tools, any of that, or even if you're not technical at all and you're just
Or certifications.
Certifications, yes, certifications, right? That could even be at the bottom next to your education as well. But having them both listed out is fine. It's just how you organize your technical skills. It should be by tools, languages, and sometimes cloud technology. Sometimes.
Yeah, and I would say also you want to what type of technologies are you keeping up to date with? Like, how do you go about doing that? That's one thing I look for with the scientists I recruit. Is like how do you increase your machine learning, your science breadth, right? How are you going to meetups? Are you publishing? Are you going to networking events? Right? Hackathons, right? So stuff like that. I look at that. I look at also we'll get into the interview process, but application of data science to a real world problem. Yeah, it'll probably pertain to Amazon if you interview with us, but I want to see how you think. I don't care what the answer is. I want to see what the process is and how you get from point A to B to C, right? We'll go into later.
Yeah. Okay, so again, quickly, so we're back to you've gotten 1,000 applications for this job. How many people out of that 1,000 say, are you actually gonna call? How many are you gonna screen? So like, what's the process there?
I think this is gonna be different kind of across the board for internal and external, but it's also very dependent on the client. I can talk about that, like working at an agency, it depends like how quickly they need the people, how long the job is open for, if it's contractor or permanent, it really, really depends. And so those are actually really good questions to ask recruiters as well. It's like, how far along in the process are they? Have other people been interviewed? I can't give you a specific number or time period because it's really dependent on every single role. A lot of times in internal structures, things change really quickly, like, we need 5 of this job function, and then a few days later, forecasting comes back and we just kidding, we need 2 of those. So then they funnel those, all 5, interview people into 2. So it really depends.
Yeah, to add to Meaghan, I would say it does depend upon the title of the job, applied scientist, data scientist, senior data scientist, right? The more senior the role, the less applicants typically, because they oftentimes get to do the networking, right? More or less. So for the, let's say, applied scientist roles for us, or research scientists, for PhD and master students, I would say it's tough to give an exact percentage. Like I wouldn't do just like give you just throwing a number out there really. But I do think like when I reach out to people, whether my job's filled or about to be filled or whatever the process is, I'm engaging with you for a future opportunity regardless. It's all about the long-term game, and that's what you have to play this, right? You have to, it's a way to get initial contact, your foot in the door. And yeah, I would say like if I get 1,000 applications, we do go through all of them. How much time we spend on each one, it's a combination of myself and my sourcer.
Like 6 seconds is what we hear.
Ask Alexa, I don't know.
Okay, so let's move on. I'm gonna do 2 more and then I'm gonna open it up to the students because we've gone on and we've got so many more questions here, but. Okay, so let's talk about the interview process a little bit here. You are a gatekeeper in a lot of ways, right? So, what's your role in the interview process? And what are you, like, so you're talking to people that are technical and looking for technical jobs. You may not have a technical background yourself. What is that conversation? What is the conversation with the gatekeeper for, right? And how do they put their best foot forward in that realm?
Some say gatekeeper, some say bouncer, but regardless, yeah, that is kind of my duty internally, right, for the hiring manager. It's not, I don't believe it's a waste of time at all. I mean, no, I'm not a scientist, but I've worked with several prominent scientists and engineers, and so I do know the lingo, the language, I respect everything what you do. I think the key to science is asking a lot of questions, right? That's why I look forward to anybody I engage with. Ask a ton of questions, right? You gotta be curious. It's natural, right? What we do. I would say, the point of the recruiter phone screen, that's kind of what but yeah, it's really to get a gauge of what you are looking for in your career at this point in time and where you want to be, right? And so what you worked on, tell me about the projects, tell me about the impact, tell me about the scale that you had. And then I kind of surmise that, like one question I always ask is, what is your boom factor? What is your superpower, right? Someone professionally had to say, hey, Josh is known for this. I want to know what you are known for, right? And it's sometimes people have a challenging time thinking about what that could be. Maybe you're humble, maybe it's off the top of your head. But everyone's got a superpower of some sort, right? Maybe it's collaboration. Maybe it's, I would say the Amazon with us, it's huge. I had to take another degree in English because it's like the writing is so much in Amazon, right? So it's definitely an adjustment that way. But I bring that up because it's like, we look at your writing skill, we look at all of that right through the process. And so your recruiter phone screen kind of gauges that and kind of aligns you to what team, and Meaghan, Christine mentioned this, like what team we align you best with at Amazon, right? So that's the point of it too. It's not like I'm not going to test you on your coding or anything like that. It's more to walk you through the process. Does this still interest you? What are you looking for? What aligns with your goals? What questions do you have about Amazon? Like I always ask, like, well, yeah, give me the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, what have you heard about Amazon? We're in the news every day for better or worse. I've heard everything. So, ask those questions, right?
Yeah, I'll hop in really quickly too. Josh said it really nicely. I know a lot of the times for myself is we're looking for that culture fit that we've spoken about. Is it going to be a good fit with you in that specific team? Because sometimes it's not, and that's totally okay. Like sometimes we have a hiring manager who is very particular, and so they're hard to work with. And so like we wouldn't want to match you with somebody that you don't think you're gonna get along with necessarily. If it's not gonna be a good match, because then the retention's gonna change, and then you're gonna have a bad taste in your mouth and have to start over again. So we are really like that first point of contact, and we also want to see like we are sussing out like BS. Like a lot of like we know that this is a very like high quality position, And we wanna know, like, do you really know the coding languages that are on your resume? Did you really do that type of project? This is like before we even talk to your references. So like before we're gonna put you in front of a hiring manager who is also extremely busy, we wanna make sure that you really are understanding the breadth of the actual like position that you are applying for. And if it's not the right fit, then, you know, you'll be notified and then we'll, you know, talk about maybe there's other, you know, potential ways for you to get a position in a different way.
Excellent. Okay, and last question, and then I'll turn it over to you all. Why, this came from the students, but why do some companies not accept candidates on F1 visa with STEM OPT?
Anybody?
I mean, I can hop into it really quickly on my side, just because Robert Half is a agency. A lot of the times we do not accept that, and I'm not saying we never have. I personally have never been able to accept that. It's because we are most of the time being sought out by a company to staff you. So we are given a specific budget, and that budget usually does not oversee that. Since I'm in contract, that definitely, it's just not in there. So we don't really have a lot of leverage on that side of things. We get told by the client, here's a task, this is what we need, find them for me now. And then if it's something that we just can't really have over here. I don't know, Christy can speak more to that.
So in technology is a little different because we, based on some particular skill sets that are really, really niche and not available to the market, sometimes it requires us to engage with somebody that just happens to have H1 status. So the thing with Robert Half, we are equal employment opportunity employer, so we have to be able to, not only are you can always apply.
Right.
We are not going to deny you from applying, ever. That's just illegal, number one, illegal. Number two, we will give you the real meal deal. Our end client may not be able to provide, or is not allowing us the approvals to help you transfer your H-1B. If you have an employer that you work with that will hold your H-1B, you could work with us for particular engagements. But I'll tell you what, it's not something that is widely accepted across the board for us. It is highly expensive. I've actually had, this is before pandemic, I just want to tell a really bad, horrible story. 1 second. It was a really hard order, and it took maybe 9 months to find this person who had this skill set. And they got a TN visa. That's not an H1 visa. TN visa used to be really easy to, like, before pandemic, but he got stopped at the airport in Canada and was unable to leave to come to America for our job order, for our start. So we had to go back to the client and say, usually we are able to do this, but the climate at INS or immigration is just not granting us this approval. So I'm sorry, we have to revoke our acceptance, and we had to find you a new candidate. You know, and then the poor guy had to stay in Canada and figure out what the heck to do, right? So it sucks. It's not us doing this, you know. Like, we can only do what we can, and it's always going to be we're at the whim, at the limitation of things that are way bigger than us. So I just want you to know that.
Yeah, and at Amazon, we have a student programs team that works extensively with a number of universities, and so we do F1, OPT, depending on your situation. There's also internships available. It's kind of depends on case-by-case basis, right, what you're looking for. So, yeah, we provide all the student services. We work with Frogman, they're Boston based, and then Ogletree and other immigration companies.
Okay, who has questions for the panel? Yep.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, so this is more towards, like, I guess, in general. Let's say you go through the interview process and for some reason you decide to, like, hire a reject you or they put a pause on the screening, would it be more appropriate to like ask if they have other like opportunities available to you, or was that something that you shouldn't really like express?
Yeah, I'd say definitely ask more opportunities. Yeah, you're networking, right? So just, and then get an idea of the timeline of when those opportunities you think, they probably won't know, and circle the hiring manager, but yeah, just ask for the, you know, the time forecast, like what do you think will be, when should you check back in with the recruiter?
And feedback, why?
Can you tell me where in my profile, my resume, what was missing that got that you were looking for?
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing all the tips. So I heard that ITS training system is organizing robust to a lot of personal information. I wonder if robust to like email address changing, name change, new phone number, like how do you handle with the applicants? Like they have new educations, for example.
It would just be one profile, you know, education status wouldn't change the profile, you know what I mean? It would just be one layer of the profile. So there are duplicates, of course, but like I said, we have a backend AI to help to minimize those and ask whatever profile that's attached to whatever email that's most relevant and more active, that one probably will be merged, the old ones may be merged into that one.
Yeah, I can speak to it.
At least that's what I think on the back end.
On our end, if you've ever worked with Robert Half specifically in our database, your profile is attached to your social security number. So if you have a name change, then you may have a new profile that's made. But if you ever work with us again, it's gonna ping in the system because you complete your e-docs like you do at any company that you work at. And I'll be like, oh, Meaghan O'Brien, her last name used to be Megan Sam. And let's connect like both of those profiles. So I can't speak necessarily to Amazon's like ATS, but that's how our ATS works. And yes, we do have the duplicates. Our AI tries to minimize those. But a lot of the times too, like I have candidates who have a new phone number. I can physically go in and change that for them, for their profile or email address.
You could do it too, for your profile.
Yeah, exactly right.
Are you hoping to get lost in the system, or are you hoping
Yeah,
We merge a lot of profiles in Amazon. You have your former one and the newest one will kind of automatically do that. So, or you can edit yourself.
Okay.
As I'm applying right now, I'm getting a lot of feedback where I get to the recruiter round or hire screening round, and they ask when I can start, and our program ends at the end of June, so the earliest we can start is early July, which is now about 2 months away. And they still tell me, oh, like it doesn't really align with our timeline because they want to hire someone ASAP, as most jobs do. But yeah, I was wondering if you have any tips for getting around that, or if I should just wait.
well, yeah, that's a really good question. It depends, right? If it's your dream job that you've been wanting to be in that dream company and that's exactly what you wanted to do, why would you say, sorry, I can't start? What would you be like, hey, my program is ending in so-and-so, would you be open to ramping me up, you know, part-time up until then, and then I could be full-time with you after I graduate? That's a good way to get your foot in. You don't say no to them, because if you want it, you just have to finagle a way to get them to just say yes, right?
And you're gonna have to work with the program. That would be something
Yeah.
that would need to be.
We do those. We have whether it's master's degrees or PhDs, students that are finishing them up, but they'll start in some cases earlier than when they actually are done or finished. So yeah, so it's kind of like case by case.
Does that usually work for international students too?
You could.
Yeah.
The question was, does that usually work for
Probably even better
internationals?
for international students because
probably even better because at least you know that by the time, once you're done with school, you only have about 60 days, I think, after to,
But you need to have like a EAD.
for H, right, for EAD.
So
Mhm.
until then, you can't work.
Oh, I see, that's right. You can ask for conditional.
Additional EAD.
No, you can ask them for conditional offer.
So that way you.
Yeah, to secure you from the role and just say like, hey, this conditional offer, I'm promising I will not go shopping for another job. I promise you. I promise you. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Good job.
I wanted to know about Robert's House ATS system. When you put in your profile and you're uploading CVs, can you like upload like multiple CVs where you have like
Oh, yeah.
each tailored to, and will the ATS system?
You
You could do multiple. I think that it even allows you to do a primary as well. We're not allowed as recruiters, especially as a publicly traded company, to help you modify your resume. I needed to give it back to you. I need to modify it and bring it back to me, right? So naturally, you'll have different versions of it in your profile. But I would still make sure that you still keep the skill set up to date, so that the AI, as it's a living, breathing thing, keep making those core technologies that you work on, that needs to still be active and relevant to not the stuff that you worked on 10 years ago, the stuff that you're like really good at right now.
And I think you should have like a few different versions, right, customized, ready to go, but you don't have to do it for every single job that's out there.
Right.
And then I also would suggest you have a job that you like in the job description, and then you match your skill set to what they're looking for, and put in bullet points and send it to who you think the recruiter. Go all the way to the top. I mean, don't maybe go to Bezos, but like, you know, go to like a VP and just send it off, right? And then it gets circulated either to us or, you know, whomever, right? And so I would just say, hey, that's fine with fit for this. You kind of figure out who might be, you know, or the recruiter can help you in relation to that in some cases. So yeah, that's what I would do.
I also want to just say for when you are trying to get in touch with a recruiter as well, look on LinkedIn. I know it honestly is super helpful if you go to the company profile and you go to people. Just email those people and honestly just guess what, like, because you don't always know if it's like roberthalf.com at the end or amazon.com. We know it's amazon.com and roberthalf.com for us, but for like startups, a lot of them it's like join X or do this. Just practice. I can't tell you how many times I just guessed email addresses and they worked and the hiring manager responded to me. I got a lot of ones that didn't work, but it's a guessing game, and I really encourage you, especially since you have the resources here at USF, to have email templates and have people review those messages to recruiters that would do that.
So just a follow up on that one as well.
Yeah.
So you advise that you shouldn't apply to many roles in one company. But sometimes you can have, like for data scientists like this, we have roles that are very overlapping. So you can have like machine learning engineer, it overlaps with your data scientist, and to some extent, like a product manager or something, a product analyst or something like that. So in that one, how do you cater? Because I've seen like big tech companies, so like Microsoft's gonna have like 5 of these roles, and you are just there like, oh my God, should I apply for all these roles or should I apply for just one role? But then, you're just trying to put your
So you're
best.
like, which one?
Yeah, which one?
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I would say, that's a great question. The thing also you have to take in mind is like a lot of these companies, they define their roles differently too, right? So like data scientists at Google, we would consider applied scientists at Amazon, right? In a lot of cases, not all cases. And so there's a lot of, I don't want you to rule things out because each company, you can look this up on the web, they define things differently. Like a machine learning engineer could be an applied scientist, right? Like that's the case with Meta in a lot of cases too. So, I mean, there's traditional definitions, but each company, they make that hard on purpose for firms not to recruit talent, right? So you don't know who you're talking to necessarily. So to that extent, then maybe you go for a few more because you're not sure what role it could be the one you're really looking for, right? It doesn't say data science, it says something else, right? But I would keep it to don't go like shotgun blast, just keep it to like a minimum. Because of that, the job classification, it does vary from companies. It makes our jobs harder too. I mean, so, and they evolve it too, that it's kind of like a musical chairs almost, so.
Other questions?
So I think like as recruiters, you're like looking for candidates with like super strong data science experience or who have like 3 to 5 years of experience. And then there's also like candidates who have like just gotten into the industry or like who have like internship experiences or like a part-time role experience. So how do you think we can like stand out compared to candidates who have like 3 to 5 years of experience? So
Let's see if this works. I'm happy to answer. I actually was on a panel about this yesterday. And a lot of clients that I actually come to, they're like, we need people who are just out of college. We want people who are going to want the thing I hear all the time is grow with the company. Because they want to teach you their ways. They want you to stay in their institution, right? So it's honestly, you guys have the power right now. I love seeing new graduates. My clients personally love it. So even if you don't have that 3 to 5 years experience, what have you been doing in the meantime? Have you been in school? What projects have you done? My background was in statistics and I was doing research prior to this. And so I put down my research labs. I put in my publications. I put in my certifications. I put in the volunteering that I did in the clubs that I was in. So, and like the networking opportunities, kind of what we were talking about earlier, all of those things are going to build your brand, even though you don't necessarily have the years of experience, you have the experience in different capacities.
And if you are starting out, I actually really would encourage you to leverage an agency, and not just Robert Half, but our competitors too, because our competitors will work with some folks that we don't work with. Sometimes we work with some folks that they don't work with, but if you can go out and leverage, maybe, have 3, 4 different agencies in your back pocket and have 2 or 3 people there, like, that you can reach out to give you feedback, to put you in front of this new job opportunity that you had seen, and you're like, Meaghan, do you know anybody over there that you can help me with, or are you guys working with that company? Meaghan would be like, oh, we're not, but let me know if I can reach into my network and figure it out. Or, you can get different feedback on your resume, different people. Sometimes I personally love a larger agency because they have a bigger book of business and different specializations. We have 7 different specializations. You can open up your phone and every single application on there has had touch with Robert Half somehow. If our accounting team, our legal team, our administrative team, if you're a hospital maybe, or a clinician, our healthcare team, technology, my team, the marketing and creative, that's another, or even just management resources, which is like the who knows what, but these are C-suite people that we need to find, right? So somehow, somewhere, Robert Half has touched them. So I would say that in another agency that you might want to leverage, make sure that you know what they specialize in. Do they just specialize in, data? That's great. That's cool, but they might not have the same flow as we do, right? Is this one only in the region, or is this a global, global consulting or global agency? I don't know, but you have to do the research there and work with somebody you trust that will give you some information, some answers, some guidance.
Yeah, and I would say, it seems like every job says mandatory 3 to 5 years experience, so I would just go apply for it regardless, and then yes, you might get rejected from the applicant tracking system, either generic, thanks for your time, it was a hard decision, yada, 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 right, all that stuff, right? But go to the person you might think it is and reach out to that person and network for those opportunities. We have taken roles that are the 3 to 5 years, and for the right candidate who's like you, we've been able to make it happen. So don't let that stop you.
Yeah, sorry, a couple of points there too though. So one is sometimes it's more about the quantity, not the the quality of your work experience, not the quantity, right? And that's kind of what they're referring to, right? So if you are
ROI.
yes, back to metrics and making sure that, but also, you mentioned working with multiple agencies, and at least this was the case when I was working with agencies. If you choose to do that, you want to make sure that that you remind that recruiter to only send your resume to a company with your permission.
Boom.
Okay, so if you're going to work with multiple agencies, make sure you do that every single time, because you don't want your resume flying out to the same company from multiple agencies. So just make sure that you keep that in mind, okay?
And the same thing goes with Amazon or big companies as well. I check with these candidates to make sure that it goes to the division they want. Maybe they don't want to do that, maybe they want AWS or something like that, so it's the same thing.
This is just on the side, but is there like any like secret yellow pages recruiters book or something?
LinkedIn. Really, that's really it. Like,
Or like any like
I think
conference or like meetups where they're just recruiters?
No, man, there's no if there was a magic bullet, we would have been rich by now, and I'm not. Okay,
You
so
should start one.
yeah, try it, do it. I'll be the first
be
one
there.
to.
Hi. So a lot of times throughout this session, you guys talked about the importance of networking and reaching out to recruiters. Can you tell us? Hello.
We can hear you.
Anyways, yeah. Can you guys tell us what exactly that looks like? So does this mean, like crafting a message and then spamming it to a bunch of recruiters on LinkedIn, or what exactly is it?
I would say get them where they are, right? Meet them where they are. For myself, I sit on a board of HDI, which I'm going to get you involved to. So HDI is a local professional organization that's really for infrastructure and services management professionals. I've been sitting on that board for quite a while, and I didn't even know about it until I got involved with it. So finding a professional organization that is sponsored by a particular, whoever's sponsoring that organization, is good to note that. Also, like, I was thinking about the alliances that your own university has, leveraging the alliances that you have through this graduate program, going to their biggest cities' employers, right? And saying like, hey, I'm part of this program here, and really announcing that, leveraging your workplace development team. I'm sure you have something like that internally here. And folks like this whole programming is brought to you, I'm sure, to get you that direction. I would just continue to leverage that. Like, what professional things are you guys doing? What events? There's going to be something new all the time.
To answer your question too, like, should you spam recruiters on LinkedIn? You could. You probably won't get a response. I have my inbox right now is scary. But what I would recommend, and this is like a hot tip for you guys, a lot of recruiters, myself included, I have put my email address like in my postings, because sometimes I'm like, I need somebody, please email me, anyone email me. I would send a message on LinkedIn, sure, but then I would follow up in an email. I'm always follow up in an email, because then I'm like, oh, Robert's messaged me twice now, maybe I should look. And sometimes they're just diligent, and I could maybe find them in a different job, but maybe that might not match them. So I definitely would do that. That would be my hot tip for you.
What I don't know about you, but I still screen mine. So even if you're trying to message me and connect with me, I still screen and go back and figure out who you may be before I connect with you. And then at that point, I do always ask folks who connect with me over LinkedIn to please just email me your resume secondarily anyway. Helps me track and helps me just push it over internally on my end to the right people.
Agreed.
And in fact, I would like them to also provide the link that the job board of the job posting that you want me to look up for you, because every posting has a number at the very bottom, identifying number to it. There will always be something to identify that. Give me the link, give me the information, or let me bring it to my team so they can figure out who's handling that role.
And you go into groups on LinkedIn, I don't know if they've changed the privacy settings, they probably have, you have to pay for it, but they have a number of these groups we talked about, right? And just join them, you can usually see, depends upon the permissions, the members, and then kind of target accordingly, whether they work, maybe they handle talent, Airbnb, or Amazon, or their agency, right, or whatever it might be, and kind of go through that process. Or you just post something once you join the group saying, hey, Josh looking for opportunity in data science, this is my skill set, these projects I've worked on. It's getting the traction out there. I mean, when I went to the AAI conference in Vancouver in February, I posted stuff from the event, and I got people coming out of the woodwork that I hadn't talked to in a long time. Not for opportunities necessarily for Amazon Science, but they had referrals and gifted me, right? Just being present, right? Just posting something on there. The groups, I think, is a good idea, though, just to kind of help you narrow your list.
You could even start a group.
Yeah.
You could start a group that is really core to what you provide professionally, and make it around those projects or those topics. And the more you have of that kind of following and build that base, you are the administrator to that particular group, so you can own that as well and run with it. I actually did that for myself, and I run a group that's called Women Who Hire, and I got enough traction that I kind of got hacked a little bit, which was kind of fun. And then, when you get hacked, you're like, oh, I finally do something right. Anyway,
Awesome. I'm going to say thank you all so much for joining us today. Can we give them a round of applause? Very fortunately, they've agreed to stick around for a few minutes. So if you all have specific questions that you'd like to talk to them about, you may do so now. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.